Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Archive. So glad to have you here. Purpose of this podcast, of this show, is tell interesting LARP stories and preserve our LARP history. My name is Godric Gray, and I'm very pleased to welcome Archduchess, Duchess, Squire, Baron, Lord, Kai, Dark Jester, Clade, Esquire, Warden of the West, Lady Nicholas freaking Cage of Maddox Keep, Kingdom of the Rising Winds. We've got Master Rose, Master Crown, and Master Dragon. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, and every time someone reads off those ridiculous titles, especially the one at the end, it just brings a chuckle. Especially the Nicolas Cage one. I'm proud of that one.
Yep, that's a good one. I like that one. It's one of those. It's like, oh, is my wiki up to date? Hope so, because I'm going to read the whole thing. So,
yes.
So thanks for coming on. We've had some scheduling issues leading up to this, but I'm glad to finally have you here. And so I'll start off with the softball question. Then I start off with every interview here. What got you into LARP? Like, what was the thing that started you, that you kind of got hooked on? How'd you get started in all this?
Well, I started role playing in high school, and then I moved to, and that was when I lived in Illinois. I moved to Indiana, and I had like no friends or anything like that because new place. And my mom was kind of like looking for something for us to do. And there was a random local Star Trek club. I know that sounds really nerdy. It was a Star Trek community service club. So they would like clean up the highway. They volunteered at the Indiana Dunes to like take out the trash. They did food drives, toy drives, stuff like that. But they were holding a small convention. And we went there, and then we ended up joining. And so there was, of course, people there like my age and like around my age. And they kept talking about how they would meet in a local park and beat people up with foam weapons. And it's like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Like, just kind of like smile and nod and yeah, whatever. And then when I started high school, there was a sci-fi club that met weekly, and it was just a bunch of nerds. We would watch like bad sci-fi movies, and we would like role play and stuff like that. And that's when I met a lot of friends there. And like we were hanging out and stuff, and we did some of like the parlor LARPs, like Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf, that sort of stuff. And
how are those, by the way? I have never played them, and I've heard some really good things about them. Did you enjoy your time with those?
I did enjoy my time with them. Some of the people in them can be very pretentious, like worse than what we see in Amtgard.
That's possible. That's possible.
Yeah, that's possible. And then there's still like the same drama, that like interpersonal drama and whatnot. Like those were okay. It was kind of awkward because I didn't know a lot of the people. So it was one of those just like, I'm going to stand in the corner, and I really also don't know the rules, so I don't know why I'm here. This was kind of a bad idea. But yeah, so like these friends, they had heard of a game where people met up in a park and beat up people with foam weapons. And so one day at a sci-fi club, we were kind of we were talking, and it was we don't have anything to do this Saturday. Let's go check out this local park and see what's going on. And so I grabbed the two friends. It was Varus, and I'm sure you know Varus, and then another player, Malachi, who doesn't play anymore. But we went out there and met with everybody, and it was just like, okay, like this is kind of cool. And just kind of like showed up sporadically. And then as soon as summer hit and school was out, we started going like every weekend, and just kind of like gone from there. And what drew me to it, I would have to say like it's the like the physical activity of it. So it's like you go up and you, instead of being like, I'm going to hit the person, roll, it's I'm going to go up and like try to hit you. And also I'm a nerd and I like weird clothing and costumes and stuff. So
For
it's like
sure.
I cosplayed for a little bit. So
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about it too, was some of the LARPs that I had seen as I was researching what game I wanted to play were the dice roll and the skill sets and like the things that like you actually couldn't do. And it was D&D just in person, I guess. And there was something about actually hitting people and the skill involved of learning all of that really enticed me when I was getting into it. So for you, you said what year roughly was that, and where did you start playing?
It was March of 2000. Yeah, March of 2000. Because after I took my SATs, I went to Park, and that was when I started going like every week. So that was junior year. I'm old. I started up at in Valparaiso, Indiana. It used to be called Crusaders Cove, but we changed the name to Port of Winter's Night.
Yep.
So Pone, because we're a bunch of nerds.
I like it.
Yeah, we're also a bunch of jerks, but that's.
I thought Pone was one of the coolest out of all the park names that I've seen. I thought it was great. So I didn't realize that you had started before the Kingdom of the Rising Winds became a kingdom. Were you super involved before then, or I know for me, my first 2 years, I had no clue what was going on a kingdom scale. I was just playing at my park. But were you involved at all with early kingdom stuff or the transitioning to kingdom?
Not really. It was one of those, like, I was aware of it. I remember us celebrating when we became kingdom. We were at Denny's. Denny's as in like the restaurant, not not the person. And I think that was also the night that Archmalice and I got kicked out of Denny's for doing the fusion dance because I don't know, we're dumb. But I wasn't like too involved. I traveled a lot because back in the day it was you got 1 credit per week, not per day like it is now. And if you traveled, I think it was like 100 miles or 120, it was like X amount of miles, and you played the same week, you got an additional credit plus 0.25.
Interesting.
And so since we were kind of at the halfway point between Ashen Hills and Griffin's Perch, Ashen Hills being up in Haslett, Michigan. They've moved around a couple times, but I want to say it was in Haslett, Michigan. And Griffin's Perch being in Indianapolis, I would alternate between the two parks because I wanted to power level a class.
Yeah.
So it's like I was aware of what was going on, but I also didn't really participate because I was in I was in high school initially, and so I was like worried about high school. Then after high school, when I lived on my own, well, when I lived with my boyfriend at the time, we really didn't have internet access, so it's like. Yeah, so I couldn't like keep up with anything, and I don't think we had like the phone trees like you hear about back in the old days, or like the newsletters or anything like that. Yeah, the newsletter
Yahoo groups.
We did have Yahoo groups, but because I didn't have internet, we did. It's like I would have to like go over to somebody else's house to look at it.
The library.
Yeah, go to the library or walk down the street since I lived like a couple blocks from Paco at the time.
See, I didn't realize that Ashen Hills was that old. That's something new to me. I knew that they were old, but I didn't think that they were that old when it comes to some of the other parks in the area.
I think they were Depending on like how you want to like look at it, because Rising Winds started off with Lion's Tomb and Windmore Crossing. They merged to form Rising Winds, and I want to say Pone was the second one. Well, Crusaders Cove was the second park to join Rising Winds, and I forget if it's either Five Oaks or Ashen Hills that were the third park. But
Five Oaks is kind of out there too, like away from all of the other ones.
I'm not sure if they've always been in Radcliffe or E-Town or whatever, but they've been down here. And the only time I came down to Kentucky is when we still did Winter War. And it was usually Rising Winds versus another kingdom, or Rising Winds versus the world, or something like that. And so a couple times we came down here.
That's awesome. Props to these parks that are still around, that are that old. It's a hard thing to keep a park going. And, there seems to be a 5 to 7 year cycle with parks. Like they'll bloom and then they fold, or then they build up again and then they fold. And so Pone and Ashen Hills, Griffin's Perch, Five Oaks, these parks that have made it 10, 15, 20 years, that's props. Most parks don't make it that far.
When I did the Rising Winds map, I looked at like a lot of like the history and stuff, and there's a lot of like defunct parks that it was like I've been there. Oh, I'm sad now.
Yep. My home park is pretty much there. Black Marsh. We hit Barony twice, almost got Duchy, and then fell off, and then got back to Barony again, and then fell off. And last I checked, pre-COVID, there were 2 people. So who knows where it's going to be coming out of COVID, but it was 10 years old, I think. And it's pretty much folded at this point. If it hasn't already, it's going to very shortly. And it makes me sad, but that seems to be just kind of how this life cycle goes.
Yeah. People get tired.
They move away.
Like lose interest and move away and stuff like that. And that's actually like with the moving away, that also helps kind of like spread the game a bit, because a lot of the parks were like, particularly like early on, were in college towns. That's actually how Crusaders Cove started, because they met on Valparaiso University campus. So the name Crusader, that's their mascot. Yeah. And it was started by like 1 or 2 people that were from the Indianapolis region. Okay. It was a Jalen and Zuggs, I think, started it. I would have to like look that up, but I know Jalen definitely helped started. But yeah, like they basically like transported the idea of Amtgard. And it's like if you look at where a lot of the defunct parks are, they were in college towns, and they just couldn't keep the momentum going as soon as people left, or even during the summer, which that's prime playtime, but also there's like nobody there, because if it's a college town, then there's nobody there most of the time, except for a bunch of townies.
Yeah, that's one of the it's a blessing and a curse to be in a college town, because you've got the potential, like Misty Hollow, for instance, had huge numbers at one point, but then when all those kids graduate, it can be very difficult to keep that going with if you have 5 or 6 of your locals trying to keep it going with constantly new people. Yeah. I can see it can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. So I've got a question for you then that I always ask the people who have been in the game longer than me. I have heard horror stories about old Amtgard, but I have also heard rose-colored glasses stories about how old Amtgard was the best thing in the world, and then some people say it was the worst thing in the world. So which is it in your opinion, and why?
There's definitely the nostalgia, like looking back and just like, oh, I had fun. And then once you really get into it, you're like, oh, oh, that was bad. Oh God. Like, so I can see how people are like, oh, this is the best. Like, this was the best time ever. No, it was fun. I did a panel for Amtgard
ALU.
Leadership. ALU.
Yep. Rest in peace.
I think we described it as we were a bunch of drunken frat boys doing stupid frat boy stuff, and then we grew up. And that's honestly the best way to put it, at least in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, if like you look back on it, you do have those rose tinted glasses because it's like we were having fun. We were also having some pretty questionable fun.
Yeah. Rose-colored glasses or beer goggles, depending on how you want to look at it.
There's definitely rosé-colored glasses. And that's not saying that it was necessarily bad. Like, I don't want to say that it was good, but it's just one of those like product of the times.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we look back on like old timey language. And you could like see how language like changes through the years, particularly if you go back like far enough. And like today, like a word or a phrase might not be cool to use, but like back then that was considered the woke of that time. So it's like, I would definitely say I like the rule set better back in the day.
That's what I think it comes down to the most, that people aren't willing to articulate. It's I liked the rule set more than the current rule set, so therefore that Amtgard was better, when in reality, that Amtgard probably wasn't much better. The rule set may have been better, but the culture probably wasn't in all aspects.
Yes. And when I say the rule set was better, I think it added more of a roleplay flavor to it, which some of the like changes of like the incants for the spells, like the current ones, I actually agree with, just because when you say like it, like I believe all the incants start off with like my power or like by the flame or whatever it is. That way you have that keyword to know, oh, it's School of Flame. I'm immune to that for whatever. Whereas back in the day, it was just like random incants. Yeah. And it'd be one of those like, wait a minute, what was... Okay, no, that does affect me. Okay. So I think if they had left some of the more like roleplay flirby aspects to the game, but just like change the incant so that way right out the gate, you know what's happening. I think that would have been fine.
Yeah, for sure. My biggest complaint. So I started playing in 7.7, and I didn't play that much. But looking at 8, I think the amount of verbals that we have has kind of gotten out of hand. As in, when I'm on the field, especially at large fights, I have no clue what's going on because everybody is shouting 50,000 things. And so I would love for us to get to a world where maybe only the casters have incants or something, that we got to bring the level down, because right now there's too many people yelling at too many different people. It's hard to keep up with sometimes, I think.
I don't think that's going to, even if we cut down the level of like verbal spells or abilities or whatever, they're still going to be yelling just because people are going to be excited or yelling orders or whatever. That's why, for me personally, and then just like I've seen like other people say this as well, that like verbals are really horrible in large games.
Yep.
It's like I played Archer for a castle battle at Keep, and there's no way anybody took any of those specialty arrows. Like it was just it's like, yeah, it's a redhead arrow, and I'm yelling flame as loud as I can, and yeah, okay, you're not taking, all right, cool, I'm going to continue firing, or that's a phase arrow, like no.
Yep.
So I don't think cutting down on the amount of verbals is going to really solve that issue, just because of people are going to be yelling and whatnot. I know what's driving some people away from the game is the lack of like I was calling them, like the flurby spells. And I think the idea between V7 and V8, and I will, and if I get this wrong, I'm probably going to get yelled at somehow. Like World of Warcraft was big, and so they kind of wanted to like turn Amtgard into a like live action MMO or something like that. I seem to recall someone saying that. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but it does.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
And as I was saying, I do like that they have redone the verbal, so that way, like within the first few words, you know what to expect and if you should like ignore the rest of it or not.
Yeah, for sure. I think our rule set is the most fun out of any game that I've played, sub 50, maybe sub 100 players. But once you get more than that, like when I go and I play Dag or Bell and we have 400 people, 500 people on the field, I think that their game, just the smoothness of it all, is the clarity, I think is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
And so I think Amtgard, like bridge battles, the most fun I've ever had in any game that I've ever played. But if you get 200 people on the field, it instantly is not fun anymore. Just because you have all of that. So I go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, it's like I agree with you, because I've done it's like I cross gamed into a Dagger here for about like a year or two. I've been up to Wolfpack, which I believe is a Bell event, but Bell. A bunch of Dag people played. That's like 200, 300, 400 people in a gym.
Yep.
Can you imagine like someone like Finger of Deathing or Calling Lightning or specialty arrows with that many people in a gymnasium?
Yeah. For those who have never heard or been to Wolfpack, I believe it's in Illinois, and it is a Belagarth season opener. So it's generally in the spring when it's still kind of chilly and it's not quite great weather to be out, but it is their season opening event. And it's massive, and it is just a giant fight. They do a bunch of pits. They do massive lines. Sometimes they do games, but sometimes they don't. And they just fight as much as you want to fight while you're there. And it's their big season opener. And it's kind of their version of like, if you are trying to be somebody in their fighting scene, you need to be going to Wolfpack, and you need to be, strutting your stuff while you're there.
When last time I was there, I was arching, and some guy on the other, we had broken up into two teams across the gym, and some guy who's also playing Archer, he shoots and the arrow goes through my bow. Like, it doesn't hit me or the bow. It literally goes from like between the arm and the string. And it was just like, oh, that was close. It didn't hit me. So I continue on, and I hear someone screaming at me. And it's just, okay, like what's going on? So the battle finishes, we retrieve arrows because they throw all the arrows in the middle, and it's like, all right, come get your shit. And so I'm collecting arrows, and the guy comes up to me and he starts yelling at me. He's like, I shot you in the arm. It's like, you should have taken it. You're cheating, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you didn't kill me. The guy that backstabbed me did. Like, what's going on? And he's like, no, no, no. He's like, I hit you. I'm now going to focus on you. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm going to go back over here. So I pick up the rest of my arrows and I go back. They call Leon, and right off the bat, he takes my, right arm. And he starts going like, ha ha ha, I got you. You can't shoot your bow. And I'm just like, okay. And so I managed to use I took off I ripped off my shoe and sock, like somehow loaded the bow using my foot, and then using my teeth pulled it back and shot the guy in the head. Boom. Which in Bell and Dag, projectiles are instant death on a headshot. He was not happy.
I bet. So overall, how did you enjoy cross gaming into Dag Bell? Were there any areas of that game that you just absolutely loved? Any area of the games that you absolutely hated? How was your experience cross gaming?
I did like the simplicity of the battles. Like, I didn't have to worry about everybody yelling at me. It was like, did I get hit? Am I wearing armor? All right, cool. I'm dead. All right, I'm going to go about my business. What I didn't like about it, and this is one of Amtgard's strengths, but it's also one of their weaknesses. It's Amtgard has a national leadership. We have the infrastructure on the back end, the bureaucracy, if you want to call it, whereas Dag doesn't. And we see where Dag's been kind of exploding for the past couple months. But like, there were times where I would run into problem players that they did the whole like field justice thing where they purposely injured people. They were like pretty gross when dealing with anybody that like wasn't in their unit, fighting company or whatever. And it's one of those like, okay, we can tell them to get off our field, but I'm still going to encounter them at like the next field over or at a big event or something. And there's nothing we can really do about it.
Now their national ban list is about half the size of the Rising Winds ban list. So their national list is smaller than one kingdom in Amtgard's ban list.
Exactly. Which, like I said, like it's Amtgard's greatest. It's like, I think it's like their greatest asset, but it's also their worst asset. Just because it does add like bureaucracy to it, and it can be frustrating when like people are trying to get stuff done.
Yeah. The hard part for me with like the national ban list, I think it's such a good thing on one hand, but then on the other hand, you are asking me as a player to inherently trust the decision making of people I've never met on the other side of the country who may or may not interpret the rules the same way I do. And that is difficult for me to do sometimes in Amtgard. But I think it is worth it to keep those people away from our fields. Like I will give that trust up if it means keeping those people off of the field anywhere we play.
It's like, I can go on this field and not have to worry about like somebody like trying to grope me. Awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like I said, Dag's been imploding for the past few months, even though it imploded like 2017 after the whole like they found Dag players at Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And then like Dag switched a bunch of them, like spun off into Heartlight.
Yeah.
Other
Heartlight.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heartlight.
Yeah, and that one looks pretty fun too. I haven't had any local groups of Hearthlight spawn around me yet, but once one does, I'm gonna go give it a shot. It's got more magic than Dag Bell, but not as much as Amtgard. And from what I've heard, they have multiple levels of armor, not just one single point, which I kind of like. So,
oh, thank God.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot if one of them ever spawn near me, but we'll see. So I want to transition a little bit. You have 3 masterhoods. Is there any one of those that was like, I guess first that you want to chat about first? We'll hit all 3 of them, but how about this? Which one was the most difficult for you? And we'll start with that one.
I honestly didn't find, and this is going to sound like really like self-centered, but I didn't find any of them difficult because I just kind of was like, I'm going to do things. All right, cool. Let's go do things. Like, oh, I'm getting awards. All right, cool. I'm still going to go do things.
Well, then we'll start with your your rose then. Master Rose, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And what was your main avenue for that? Was it, what was the main thrust of your service?
God. I did a lot of like stuff with like events with like cratting stuff. It's like I was a feast crat for a Rising Winds Bridge War while I was regent. I've done gate crat for keep, and like a couple other events. I've like just kind of like popped up and like helped out. I've run meals. I cratted Bridge Wars. I shadow cratted Keep 2019, and I'm going to crat this upcoming Keep. And it's basically been like kind of like a fill in a spot blank or something like that. And particularly when I did the meals, I was very obnoxious about it. Like I would just like chat with people. When we had like leftovers, I would like encourage people like, hey, come and get them. You want them. I encouraged people to eat a lot of potatoes at a Battle Cry or a Valhalla or something. There was a potato bar, and Mama Hobbit had cooked way too many potatoes that there was eventually a potato fight. But I remember just like walking up to people like, oh, you want potatoes? Here, have potatoes, lots of potatoes, all the potatoes. It's like one time we were serving like stir fry or something at a Rising Winds event. And me and a couple of the cooks, we were just like bantering back and forth and like trying to keep like people, like just keep people engaged and stuff. One of the feast Malcav ran, and the feast kind of sucked because there was a bunch of problems with that. Like he didn't have enough help for it. And the grill, he didn't have enough grills. Like the grill didn't want to work or something. And so I just like jumped in and was just like, okay, I'm going to help out. Here's what we're doing. Grabbed a few people. And so so people were angry because feast was late, and it was kind of cold by then, but we were like trying to keep people's spirits up by just like talking with them and bantering and stuff like that. But it's like, it's been pretty much just like all right, what do you need done? All right, cool. Let's go do that. Like,
I have found the more Flame Knights and Master of those 3 that I have talked to, it seems to be very common that I go, well, what'd you get your Masterhood for? And they're like, well, it's not really this. It's kind of a bunch. Like it's a fill, like what you said, a fill in the blank, which is very different from my mindset coming from the serpent path, which is a very specific, like, what did you do to get your serpent? And generally there's one, maybe two things, and then that's it, you know? And then you talk to the service people and they're like, well, I kind of did a little of this and I did a little of that too. Yeah. Like it's
like, what'd you do? I did service. Okay, well, like what type of service? You know, service.
Yeah, pick and choose. Most of the people I've talked to have done some sort of crap position. They generally have done some sort of feast thing. They generally have done they do it all. We don't really have flame knights that are like, I only do gate. You know, I don't know very many of those. You know, it's like I do a lot of stuff. So if you had somebody, we're going to kind of break this up a little bit. Someone who is watching this, who is maybe at their first or their second rows, and they're trying to get, first to 3. What's some advice that you would give them?
Be on the lookout for volunteer opportunities, particularly if you know, like an event's coming up, and just like sign up to help. That's like, I encourage that because that way we have a bigger pool of volunteers. So that's kind of like on the selfish side of things, in a sense. But then also I think, that will help bring people like further into, the community, because it's the whole, like, I'm helping out, I'm helping like make this game better. So it's kind of like an ownership of the game.
For sure. You've got skin in the game at that point. Once you've sat a 4-hour gate shift, like you feel tied to that event now. And
then also like, particularly like gate shifts are, like I encourage people to sit a number of gate shifts, because I've had some like incredibly interesting, fascinating, deep conversations with people at gate, whether it's the person I'm working with or somebody just randomly wanders up and they're bored and they just want to talk, or even the people like coming into the event. So that it's like, so you get to interact with a lot more people, and you can also like learn things from there. So it's like sit gate and just like talk to people.
For sure. That's the one that I point new players towards. It's like, man, this is my first event ever. What I want to get involved. Go sit gate. Like you're going to meet so many people, and it's a relatively easy thing to do. You're not lifting a bunch of heavy weights. You're not in charge really of much other than just writing, checking stuff. It's a pretty easy process. I think almost all of our new players, I would love it to be like, oh, this is your first time being MIG. Well, a requirement or a citizen, sorry. A requirement to be a citizen is you have to sit 1 gate shift every 6 months. Like I think that would be an amazing requirement, but I don't think I can get that to go through. So
we would never have to worry about gate shifts again. We would have people fighting over gate shifts. That would be phenomenal. But no,
yep. And we have 4 people at this gate shift. Darn. Like, we can never have too many people doing that stuff. I don't think. We have more eyeballs on the money. That's better.
Yes.
So what about the person who is maybe 4 to 6? So they've got a few at Park, or they've done a couple things at a Kingdom event, but they're starting to realize that maybe I like this. Maybe I want to push a little bit further up the ladder. What advice would you have for them?
I would say, like you get to that point, maybe start to try to like edge your way into like maybe doing a shadow position. Because I don't think it's ever too early to start shadowing somebody. That's a good way to explain
what a shadow position is for those who might not know.
A shadow position would basically be like an intern, to put it people have different ways of doing shadows. Some people it's okay, you're just gonna sit back and watch me do stuff. Others it's a more of a like a 50-50 thing. And then I've heard of like a few people just like it's like, all right, Shadow, you're gonna do everything. And I'm going to like sit back and like maybe correct you and whatnot. It just depends on, I guess, what you're shadowing and like the learning style, the person teaching style. But yeah, it was basically be like an intern, like a sub crat, an understudy.
You're gonna follow around the person who's in charge, help them do what they're doing, and learn the skills needed. So then, most of the time, if you've never done anything service wise, you're not going to be able to walk in and go, "I want a warcrat." They're just not going to give it to you most of the time. But if you've got 5 or 6 from your, you've done some Grand Duchy stuff, and then you've shadowed at a kingdom level, they might be like, "Okay, let's give this guy a Friday night. He can have all the games on Friday," or so. You know what I mean? You get your foot in the door.
So if you're like in the mid tier, like you said, like 4, 5, 6, I would say definitely like maybe be on the lookout for shadow stuff. Maybe run a meal. That would be like a good like a leadership service type thing, because that shows that not only can you plan and execute a budget, but then you can like direct people and like set up, like just handle like logistical stuff.
And meals are relatively, we have a bunch of them at every event. Well, pre-COVID, we had a bunch of meals at every event. And so you want a Saturday breakfast or the Friday evening, traveler's lunch or whatever. Most of the time you'll be able to get those without having, you don't have to have 8 to do, Saturday breakfast. Like they'll give you that shot most of the time if you want it.
Yeah. Maybe, and then also maybe run like a local event. I know a lot of those are like can be overlooked. And if I would say like for the local event, like actually be like the head crat for that, just because those don't offer a lot, particularly like day events. They might not offer like security, gate, crats or whatever, because it's so small. It's just we need like one or 2 people to do gate.
Yeah. Then you've got feast and games, and that's really about it at the day events.
And even day events might not even have feast. It might just be like, oh, we're gonna have snacks and water, which like that's fine. It just depends on what you want this event to be. But yeah, it's like I would say like try to go for like the smaller stuff. Either like try to do like a small thing at a big event, or try to do like a small local event. I think like that would be good to like start building your resume, as it were.
Do the small thing at big events, or do the big thing at a small event.
Yes. Yeah.
So then the last step are those who are 7 to 10. They are either there at the skill level or close to, and they're climbing that last little bit, which can oftentimes be the most frustrating and the most difficult ones to climb up. What advice would you give to someone sitting at 7, 8, 9, pushing for masterhood?
So once you get to like 7, 8, 9 masterhood, I would say start taking on the bigger crat roles. So actually be feast crat instead of doing just like one meal. Like do security, do gate, trash. Like warcrat. I know that would fall into like kind of like the smith category, but that's still like service. So like maybe try to like be warcrat there. Yeah, so definitely take on like bigger roles, or maybe just like run the entire event. You could also, since like I know Rising Winds is unique, that we have grand duchies that act more like principalities, and I think that's a good way for people to also earn
Up to 8?
Yeah, up to 8. Yeah. So like without being like too much pressure, because it's like, it's like Kingdom events, just like, oh God, like there could be like several hundred people there versus a Grand Duchy event with there might be like, I think like 100, 150 or something like that. And that's not saying that like that's a bad thing, but it's just a good way to
get your feet wet.
Like, yeah, get your feet wet, or even like sharpen your skills. You can definitely also try doing like more like what for Kingdom level stuff, not just events, but maybe do like a fundraiser. Rising Winds just did a auction, so like that could also like be a way to get maybe like a 7 or 8, depending on like how big of an auction it is.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have found fascinating are some of the non-traditional ways for roses. The episode that's going to be airing on in a couple of days here was with Lyndon, and I talked about I want to see more the people who make our awards for everybody need to be getting roses. I want more Master Rose scroll makers, because that is an incredible service to the game. That isn't a traditional, crat position, or you're not serving feast or whatever. And I think it's super interesting to see some of the ways in which people have taken the rose path and gone non-traditional with it. It's pretty interesting to me.
I think with the scrolls, that's gotten more towards dragon, just because artwork, dragon, like it just goes that way. It should be both.
I mean, these people are giving their time, their money, their skills. That is going to be a gift that people are going to hang up on their wall for years and years to come. Like that is an incredible service to this game.
Because when I was Monarch, I know I gave some awards for people making scrolls, and I think I did dragons and roses. I can't remember, just because I had a few. It's like I had a few people that they would come to me before I even was like, I should get some scroll makers. They would come to me and be like, I want to make scrolls. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go make some scrolls.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, by all means. Yes.
For sure. And so you mentioned there, we can roll into your second one then, your Master Crown. You have held every Kingdom position now, correct?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy to me. I did 1 and hated it. So the fact that you have done 5 now, 6, right? If you count your Pro Tem or whatever it was called.
Pro Tem Monarch, yeah.
Yeah. So give me an insight into your mind here. Do you actually enjoy this, or is it just like, do you enjoy inflicting torture on yourself? Like how do you get through 6 reigns on the Kingdom level? I don't understand it. I can't fathom it.
So I think the Regent one was Amtgard was just like, hey, I'm going to run for Monarch. All right, cool. I want you to be my Regent. What? Like I had not. It's like I had kind of thought about doing Kingdom level stuff, but not really. Like it wasn't like it was kind of like in the back of the head, sort of thought. And he was just like, yeah, you can be my Regent. We can do this, this, and this. And I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll do Regent stuff. I'll run for Regent. And I did not think I was going to get it. Because like I ran against Juicy and I think Kendrick. I think that's his name. I can't remember, so now I feel really bad because he's actually like a really good like crafter, but he doesn't do a lot of like Kingdom stuff. And
that reign ended up being my favorite reign that I've played in so far in 10 years. I had a lot of fun that reign, and I generally don't ever get into Kingdom like the role play arc or like the travel to see like, but that reign was a ton of fun.
it's like we got to bring back like some of like the old like RW specific monsters, which it's like I really enjoy. But yeah, it's like I didn't think I would be Kingdom Regent, and then when it's just like, oh hey, you won, it's like, oh crap, I have to do stuff now. And being the person I am, and this might be like a little dark in a sense, but I think it should be talked about. There was actually the thought of like, okay, how can I get out of this? Can I like break my arm? No, that won't. It's like that thought was actually there, and there was like the brief momentary like panic.
It's like, oh crap, what did I actually sign myself up for?
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, it's like, what if I crash my car and get into an accident? Then I don't have to be Regent. No, okay, no. Then I lose my car. Then that's a bad thing. Like, and so it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like do this. And I had fun with it, not just like in the role play sense, because I had so much fun playing the villain for that reign. But I enjoyed like talking with people and like organizing stuff. And by talking with people is not just like what we're doing now or just like hanging out with your friends, but it was a like, hey, I want to like do this. Who can I it's like, who do you know that can help me? And be like, oh, go talk to that person over there. Like, and I'm not saying that you have to be in a office to do that, but it gives you clout to be able to do that. Like it kind of adds some like you get more weight to your words and suggestions. Kind of like also like the white belt helps you. It's like it's not necessary to change the game.
It helps a lot,
but it does help. And so then while I was Regent, it was a like, oh, maybe I should run for Monarch. Like that makes sense because Amtgard just went from Regent and you went over to Monarch. Like, okay, like that can work and stuff like that. And so it's like started like getting together a plan and everything like that. It's like did the quals thing. Was the only one that qualled. So I kind of won by default,
which happens so much for a kingdom so large. Like it surprises me how many uncontested elections that the Rising Winds has. Like it blows my mind.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's like I want to say it has to do with like there might be like a clickiness to it. It could also be, and I've noticed this with like a few times where someone's gonna be like, I'm gonna run, and like one of their friends is like, but it's my turn to run. And so instead of both entering the race in like good nature, the one friend won't run, so the other friend like can win, which I get that. But I also don't like it because then we have uncontested races.
Part of me really wanted to make the policy that I would run every single time someone goes unopposed, just so that way there is a vote. But I really didn't want to take all of the responsibility if I actually won one. Like the goal was like, the goal was just to force someone to qual and make sure that they win and that it's not unopposed. But man, I don't want the happenstance that I win.
So funny story. I was gonna do that. There was going to be a race between Varus and Kavik, and they had a agreement like not to do quals. And I'm like,
Shouldn't
okay, that
be
really
allowed. Yeah.
yeah. It's like if we're going to have quals, we should have quals. It's like just do the quals.
And they're easy now. They're so easy now. It's not like 12 items or whatever.
At the time, it was 10 items for Monarch.
Okay. So they had the hard quals then.
Yeah. So they we did hard mode.
Yeah.
And so it was like, hey, okay, that really doesn't sit with me. And I was talking to like a few people, and the group included Skiffy, and I was just like somehow we got on that topic, and it was just like, yeah, they have like a gentleman's agreement to it's like to not do any entries, so that way they qual, but they don't have to do entries. And Skiffy's just like, that's not right. I'm like, yeah, I know it's not right. That's really dumb. I mean, I could easily crank out 10 entries like over the weekend or something like that. And Skiffy's just like, do it. I'm like, what? She's just like, yeah, just do it. Them. Just make them and like the ninja declare, which I think ninja declaring is like kind of tacky. I get why people do it, but personally I think it's tacky. And so I was actually going to do it, and I actually had, I think, like I was up to like eight items. And it was like a couple days before declarations were going to end. And I messaged Kavik, and I'm just like, you're going to have to do please do your quals, because this is what someone wants me to do. I don't feel cool doing this. Like, it's like, I was going to do that, but like after a bunch of thinking and stuff, like, I don't want to do that. I would just feel like really scummy, because I would just basically be like stealing the crown. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as funny as that would be, I'm not going to do that. Like, no. And so I ended up not going to quals because I think I got like really sick that weekend. And I think they did enter in some items, but I don't know if it was like the required or stuff like that. But both of them ran. Varus won. So yeah, like I understand the whole like, oh, I'm just gonna like run it because like I want someone to not be unopposed. Mm-hmm.
So I want people to earn it, you know? Yes. Like I feel like we have I want there to be 2 or 3 people at every position so that the populace of the kingdom can vote on who they think is going to be the best. I don't want uncontested BOD elections. I don't want uncontested like kingdom elections. Just because then I think you like, if it's like, oh, well, I guess I can do it. I don't want that person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that person.
Yeah. It's like when I ran for Monarch, I ran against, I was supposed to run against Thalion and Fenrir, but they didn't qual for various reasons. And I was hoping one of them would qualify, because like I wanted an election. Like I was like, all right, I'm ready to answer like probably all the questions. Like I have a firm, clear idea of what I want to do and how I want to do it. So yeah, it's like, I'm 100% ready. And then like, I just win by default, and just like, crap. Good thing I prepared. So
Yep.
But yeah, it's all about, oh no, go on.
Okay, I was gonna say it's crazy to me for the largest kingdom in the game to have so many. I mean, like half of our elections in the last 5 years. I mean, like we're talking a bunch of them have ended up being uncontested, and that shouldn't be the case. And you shouldn't need people who are like, well, like my mindset of, well, I'm going to run just so they have someone to run against. Like that shouldn't be either. I would adore to get Master Crown simply by running against people when I didn't actually want it. But there were so many people who were running uncontested that like, I think that would be so funny.
The spite crown.
Yeah. So
spite, unfortunately, is a powerful motivator.
Yep.
Not a good one, but it's a powerful one.
So what advice would you give to someone who is coming up and they're like, man, maybe I'm thinking about running for my first kingdom election. Crown belt is looking enticing. What advice would you give to that person?
I would say definitely get out there and talk to people.
No. Get out. Just get out. Just run.
Just get out. Just know you're obviously crazy because you have to have some form of insanity to want to do this. So just go check yourself into but yeah, no. Honestly, I would say go get out and talk to people. And I know people are like, oh, well, you don't have to travel and stuff like that. It's like, kinda. Okay, like that's fine. I personally, it's like you should try. It's like I think you should travel. I'm not saying you have to travel every single time, but just talk to people. I had people come up to me when I ran against Juicy for Regent that were like, I was going to vote for Juicy because I know who Juicy is, but after talking to you at Battle Cry and finding out who you are, I voted for you. And that was me simply going around making an ass of myself at a Battle Cry. So what had happened is we were trying to start a fire at the have you been to the Battle Cry site? Mm-mm. It's this like trailer camp park or something like that, but it's kind of cool, but they have their own like area where it's basically the owners are like, as long as you don't burn it down, but even then we might not care. But there was like a fire pit area and we were going to start a fire to like cook something, and there was a like training bra or something in the fire pit area. And it's just like, okay, we have to burn that. It's like, we don't know where this came from. It just needs to go. And I think it was Mama Hobbit was just like, no, that might be somebody's here. Put it into like lost and found. It's like, I don't think this is anybody's here. It's like, we're just going to burn it. It's probably been here for like months or something because it was pretty gnarly. And she's like, I will let you burn it if you go around to all the people here and ask them. So it was kind of like all right. So it's like, I got like this long stick, kind of like wrapped it up into it. Like I didn't touch the bra because it was very questionable. So it's like wrap it up. And I literally went up to like every cluster of people. So anywhere from like 1 to like 10 people, and just go, hi, I'm Kai. I'm running for Regent of the Rising Winds. And is this your bra? And I went Icebreakers. Up to, yeah, it was a really nice icebreaker. And people would laugh and like we would kind of talk a little bit and like, yeah, I'm going to run for Regent. So just like, hey, how's it going? I'm Kai. And I just did that to like literally everybody, every Amtgarder at the event. Mm. And we ended up getting to burn the bra. And like I said, afterwards, I had people who were like, yeah, I was going to go for Juicy because I didn't know you. Mm. You were just literally like, okay, it's somebody named Kai. Okay, but I know Juicy because like we play at the same park or like I've seen him around Ohio events and stuff like that. But yeah, just like try to like, and I would say if you don't want to like travel to like all the parks, kind of like what our actual politicians do with when they go from like town to town, state to state, mm-hmm. like maybe at like events, just try to like talk to people, like kind of get your like put yourself out there. I know they can be like really scary, trust me, I know, but if people know who you are, then mm-hmm. they have like a better chance of voting for you.
For sure.
Because
Especially if it's your first time running, right? If you don't have name recognition in your kingdom yet, you have to earn it. And there are a few different ways that you can do that. Travel's the easiest, right? Hit all of the Grand Duchy events or the Principality events or whatever it is in your kingdom, or have a massive positive online presence. It needs to be positive.
Yes.
Or like there are different ways that you can get there, but you have to earn the name recognition.
Yeah, it's not just given to you. Mm-hmm. And on the flip side is that name recognition can also be negative. There are a few people in this kingdom that have a negative name recognition, and that is difficult to overcome. And it can also be like incredibly disheartening to be like, hey, I've put in my time, but I've put in my time, and like they have, like, I'm not discounting anything that they have done in the past, but there may be like one or two like black marks like on their record. Like maybe the event they ran wasn't so great, or they poisoned somebody at Feast, or like Feast was undercooked or something like that. It's like that also like works against you, and so you kind of have to like re-earn that name recognition, which is, it's almost like trust, and we all know that like trust isn't re-earned like really easy. And if you like, while you're re-earning that trust, if you mess up again, it's just one of those like it is a setback.
Yeah, it will take you 4 times as long to build the name recognition as it will for you to burn it all down. And there are certain times too that sometimes you might not even be aware about, like you're from that park, or you're a part of that belt line, or that fighting company. And that might not even be something you're aware of, but you have to, and that's a thing, it's a reality that's there, and you have to overcome it somehow. Whether that is showing up at people's events, or like I said, having a positive, thing on Facebook and being continually someone that people are like, oh, every time I see that person's name, like I like what they're saying. Like if people can't stand you online, and people can't stand you in person, and you're a part of the wrong belt line, and you're a part of the wrong park, right? Like it's going to be real hard for you. So
it's like, well, I guess I'm choosing expert mode. That's
Yep, pretty much. So I think that we need more people to do Crown, especially in the large kingdom that is the Rising Winds, because we can't have the same people shuffling, because they get burnt out. Like most Crown people only can do it. Like you're an anomaly because you have done so many of them. Most of the people that I know who get Crown belts, they might do a reign again, but most of the time they're done. Like they hit their Crown stuff and they're like, all right, I'm taking my vacation. I don't ever want to do this again, And so
I honestly wouldn't mind doing Regent or Monarch again. I kind of can't for like a while, if ever. So, but yeah, it's like I honestly wouldn't mind, and I think it's because one, I might be masochistic. Then also like I really enjoy just like talking to people and help them out. I think this kind of like made me take a step back when it happened, but when I within the 24 hours of me becoming pro temp monarch, because I went from regent to incoming monarch because I won quals, to pro temp monarch because the current monarch had to step down, and as regent I had to step up. And so like literally within 24 hours I went through like all these different like changes. But like the day after it happened, I had somebody message me, and they were concerned that like their park had like done some shady business because they wanted to be prime minister. They wanted to be like, I believe, like prime minister or champ. They wanted to do like an office, and their park had basically said, no, you can't do this. And it's like, okay, that's kind of like that's kind of like wrong. Like what's going on? Like, is it because you piss somebody off? And talking with the person for a little bit, I come to find out that like they had attempted suicide not too long before that. And it was kind of like oh, okay, I see what happened. It's like they told you, it's like they don't want you running because yes, it's only a park level position.
Still responsibility.
There's still responsibility. There can still be stress, and that's not like saying like, oh, park positions don't count. Like no, they do, because that's where a majority of the game is at your local park. But you still have that responsibility. You still have that additional stress, and if you're still in that headspace, because if I remember correctly, it wasn't like too long like prior to him wanting to run where like the attempt was made, where it's just like, okay, that could still like push you over the edge. It may not be much, but that's kind of like a touchy thing. It's like they weren't doing this out of malice. They were doing this so they wouldn't lose you. Like they care for you, and they don't want to see you make a mistake. And they were kind of like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I thought they were just being jerks. And it was just like, no, they're being the opposite of jerks. And so they're like, all right, cool, thank you for stuff like that. And like after that, it was kind of like okay, that was kind of unexpected. And so it's like I know people look at Amtgard is just like a silly game where we're running around beating each other up and wearing like funny clothing, but it's also a community, and a lot of people don't have that sense of support around them. Like we are a bunch of we are a community kind of like rejects and misfits and nerds and geeks and freaks and everything like that. And so a lot of the people that we attract are looking for that sense of belonging. And as like an officer, whether it's an elected official, and I consider knighthood like an office to an extent. You're like the leaders of this community. And so people should be able, or people like look to the leaders to try to like for like guidance or support, or like just like even like words of encouragement.
For sure, 100%. And I'll echo
I just
that.
got kind of a little sappy, but
No, you're good. I'll echo the knighthood point there, because there are some people who disagree with me, and it sounds like you on this point. I would 100% say that knighthood is an office. There are responsibilities and duties that come along with that. There's a lot of cool stuff that come along with it too. But the second you have that white belt on, you are telling everybody at this game, hey, I want to help you with whatever it is. Doesn't really matter what. So it is fully an office. And if you are not willing to accept the responsibilities that come with that office, you probably shouldn't accept or put on that belt, in my opinion.
Yes.
So I'm going to transition now. We can pull up some of the pictures from your last and final masterhood. So while I'm doing that, you want to chat a little bit about what'd you earn your Master Dragon in? What did that path look like?
So I know a lot of people for Master Dragon, for Master Dragon, I do something specific. and I really don't do much of anything specific. It's like I sew. That was for when we were going to use Aerith's land. We were going to do Camp Kiwi. And Watt came up with the idea of like, yeah, the flag's just going to be a kiwi roasting a marshmallow. And so it was just like, I wonder if I can do that. And that flag, you can actually pet the kiwi and it's fuzzy.
I like it. That's awesome. That's great.
But yeah, it's like I sew, it's like I draw, I've done parodies. I did like a couple Dr. Seuss parodies. I'm known for glass etching. It's like for some odd reason, like everybody like loves the glass etching. Like I think I'm teaching another glass etching class at a Battle Cry, so I'm probably going to talk to you about some stencils or something.
Yep, let me know. Glass etching is like, so fun though. Like it is an enjoyable art form. Like I really enjoy glass etching.
Yeah, no, like I'm not saying like, oh my god, this is so, it's like, but no, like I honestly enjoy it. I wish I had a like the Kirkut machine.
Yeah.
So I can make my own stencils, but it's like I just haven't gotten it. I don't know why. But yeah, it's like I enjoy it because it's like I can literally spend like a few dollars and make something that's really cool.
I've been experimenting a little bit with glass etching on like picture frames or shadow boxes to make awards. And so I made one a little bit back. I glass etched the award and then I backlit it with the neon lights that you can control on your phone.
Yes.
And so like I think there's a bunch of really cool like traditional stuff you can do with glass etching, but there's a whole world in the award sphere that is pretty much untapped. That is so cool that you can do with it.
It's like I would love to at some point, like if I want to make an award, like I want to do like the shadow box with like the backlit or something like that, or mirrors or stuff like, or whatever. It's like a lot of the arts and sciences, they can overlap.
Yep.
It's like sometimes the skills can overlap. Sometimes like the mediums can be mixed, so you can do like some cool stuff. It's like you talk to Lyndon and like she's done like awards where she's just like, oh yeah, I did like some wood carving, I did some electrical work, I did some glass etching. I called down lightning and had that like like bless the wood or something like that. Like you can do all sorts of like fun stuff.
For sure.
I think that's where I also do. I was going to say like I also do chainmail, and it's like I've started doing some like it's like I've done some wood burning stuff. So those were I ran I was running the archery tourneys at Valhalla, and for that one, it was part of the battle portion of the archery tournament where everybody had those are individual dwarf braids. And so everybody got one, and when you killed a person, you got their braid. And so at the end, the prize was this big full-on dwarven beard thing.
I love it. That's awesome. That's such a fun game mechanic too. I like that.
So that's my first scroll. That was a spite scroll because I was told by someone I didn't know how to rolls, and it's like you can literally sit here and watch me and like you can be the backseat driver and direct me on how to make this scroll that you need. It's like I'm letting you have full control. I'm just the one doing it. They're like, no, you don't know how to make scrolls. And I'm like, well, F you, I'm going to make a scroll. And that was for the first House Cup that Rising Winds ran. And that actually got second place in the ANS tournament.
There you go.
And I was told that it was between that and a tunic. And I saw the tunic, and like apparently like half the judges were like, it should be the scroll, and the other half was like, this should be the tunic. And I'm like, No, give it to the tunic.
So I had something very similar when I was entering ANS, and every time I would see one of my woven belts beat a tunic or beat, a scroll, like things that I thought were obviously better than my stuff, I would like just kind of be like, oh, come on. Like you're looking at my single belt beat that. And I felt like that a lot of times until probably my last couple of tournaments. I always was amazed that my stuff was beating other stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because like I said, I'm like, it's a piece of paper. Like, yeah, I worked hard on it, but that's a tunic.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, that is I have always found that the skill sets that I don't have, I always seem to overestimate how difficult they are. And I do that. That's a bias that I find myself in judging as well. The things that I don't know how to do, I just assume are significantly more difficult than the things I do know how to do. And that sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad.
Yes.
Let's see, what do we got on the next one? This right here is probably my favorite thing that you've made. What are we looking at here?
So this is a map of the Rising Winds. The roads, it's mostly geographically sound. This was a 9x12 foot painter's drop cloth. Amdir had given me some sheepskin. It was like this small piece of sheepskin. And he's just like, I want to do a war map, because this was for our reign. That when I was reaching, he's like, I want to do a war map, and it's going to be, and he was like telling me all these things. And I'm like, you gave me this tiny piece of sheepskin. Like, no, we need if you're going to do a war map, you need a map. And so, I was just like, hey, I'm going to go out and get a drop, the biggest drop cloth I can find. And I'm going to make the map. And so, my fiance, Kyler, he helped me with this. It's like we took a piece of paper, put it up, pulled up roughly the area that the Rising Winds covers on a computer screen, and then put a piece of paper up onto it and traced out the roads, where the major roads were, where the cities were. I went through the Amped Wiki, the kingdom groups. I talked to people and stuff like that, and I got locations of all the parks, a bunch of old parks. There's a lot of old parks over in Ohio. There's a bit of a reason why that is dumb, but somebody kept having a fallout with people at a park, and so they go and make another park, and then they would have a falling out there, and so then they would go make another park, and the other park had died, and it was just spite parks, I guess, to call them.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So so there's a lot of history in this map, and but anyway, we took the piece of paper, and it was just your standard piece of paper. It's okay, this is roughly I could do a rough ratio, and so it's I gridded off I gridded off the paper, and then I gridded the painter's canvas. Or a drop cloth. And I had to do it in sections because I don't have a wall that big.
Yeah.
And so it's it was literally just for probably, it's we did about a week of research to figure out where all the parks were and get a little history and description of the parks and the area around them. As far as in-game is concerned, it's I think it was Blackfire Pass has a volcano, so it's okay, they got a volcano, weird. Or it's Mimmer's Well has a desert. It's okay, desert in the middle of Ohio. That's weird.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's fitting.
Yeah. So it's like a week of research. And then I started, it's like I tacked it up. And as I did, I measured out like, and I did a grid thing. And so I got the idea from when I was it was like middle school or high school. We did an art project where you would take like a picture, grid it out, and then grid the paper. And then you would like go like square by square and like draw that in. Then pretty soon you have like the entire picture. So I basically did that here. And so I would like tack a part of it. Like I went through a lot of Sharpies, like all the mountain ranges, all the trees, all the like little geographical features and everything. Those are all individually drawn. My hand hurts just thinking about it.
For sure.
But I would work. I worked something like 2.5, 3 weeks, anywhere from like 2 to 6 hours a night. Drawing.
I remember when this was revealed at court, and it was just so cool. Like it is like you see Manima there for scale. The thing is huge. It's massive. And it was so cool just to be hanging up in front of the feast table. Like we have a map of the whole kingdom. Like that was just such a fun piece.
I think this it's my favorite piece because I love maps. I have a map in like every room of my house. I like the old timey maps. And I love like drawing maps. Like I did Skiffy's, I did a map for Skiffy for her knighting. But then this also helped me, this also let me like dive into like the history of the kingdom. And I'm a big history nerd. And so if you know the history of the kingdom, like past events and like former parks, like I have a bunch of dead parks, and I put them as like ruins on the map. I have an area for our old event sites. So like I have on there, like if you go up to like an old timey Rising Winds person, you're like and you're like Shaq Marak, you're probably going to get a shudder. Because that was the event that got Rising Winds kicked out of Indiana State Parks.
Gotcha.
It was an overall it was an okay event, but it was also like a bad time. But it's like I have that up on there. Like I said, I have like defunct dead parks, and because it's canvas, I have a second canvas where if we add a park, I could I just like make a patch and like stick it on there.
Cool.
So I have
That's neat.
It's like I have like Valley by the Coast on there. I have Mountains of Six Dawn on there. I added Port Hannons on there. Like I have to update it because I think we've added like River's Edge and Seven Hills, I believe. And then also I think I have like 2 Principality of something, but it's like I have to update it, but because it's canvas, I can just like an old timey map, just put a patch on it. And that was the entire idea.
I like it. That's such a cool and unique way to keep up with the history of the kingdom. I like that quite a bit. And then I remember this guy.
It's my dumpster fire plushie that turned out a lot bigger than I thought it was going to. Like there was a happy little dumpster fire being sold at San Diego Comic-Con. It was like $50 or something. And it's like, I'm not paying $50. It was like this like tiny thing. It's like this big or something, which I actually ended up getting one later on because they like reprinted them out or whatever. And they were only like $10-15. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So I have I have the dumpster fire I originally wanted downstairs by the TV, but I'm not paying $50 for that. And there's no way I'm going to like San Diego Comic-Con or whatever. It's like, I'm going to make my own with like beer and hookers and blackjack and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it a plushy one. So that way it can be like all huggable and be like, oh, and that's what I came up with.
I love it. And if I recall, this one scored really well too. I'm pretty sure I was a judge for this one when you entered it.
Yeah, that was like it was like a crown qualls, but there was like 2 portions to it, and it was just like it's like, oh, here's a little dumpster fire you can hug.
I love it. So let me transition back here, and then beforehand, you said that you had a few things with you personally that you wanted to show off to ANS wise.
So
actually, I might be able to just show you only. Let me.
So I made a tunic. It's the one I'm wearing right now. It's but I based it off a secretary bird. I don't know why I was like, I want to make a tunic with that is based off like a secretary bird. Like I did some dyeing here because secretary birds are like white, light gray mostly, and then they have black feathers and like some white feathers, and then like their beak eye area are orange, so that's why like there's just like the little bit orange here, but it's like I made the back kind of like fans out, kind of like the tail of a secretary bird. Yeah, I needed a new tunic, and I'm like, I want to make it look like a secretary bird because I'm a dork. And I think it turned out really well, and a lot of people at the event this past weekend really enjoyed it. And then there's something I've been working on. So I'm making a Druid Staff. This is a piece of wood I randomly found in Jefferson Memorial Forest. I was just driving around after I got my first COVID test. So this was like March of last year. And I just randomly went driving around exploring. And I found this like really cool piece of wood. Like it has like the Y and stuff. So I grabbed it, took it home, cleaned it up. And I wood burned, it's half nature. So you have like flowers, vines, leaves, butterflies. And then it's half alchemic symbols. And I have those like running up and down here. And then like here's all like the flowers. And I have it so it looks like there's butterflies like coming off the staff, so like it looks like the staff's like giving birth to butterflies. It's like I leather wrapped it. I did a web here with like a little crystal, and I'm just adding stuff, just like hanging random stuff off of it. So I have some tails, I have feathers, I have beads and whatnot off that's going to be hanging off of it. I'm going to put this. I'm going to have little bits hanging off that are nods to my 2 underbelts. So right now I just have the one for Tree God. I did it's his favorite lyric to one of his favorite songs. It's a Lonely Day by System of a Down. And so that's like the sheet music. I'm going to do. I asked him. Oh, and it's also has little like trees of life because Tree God and he loves trees of life. Mm-hmm. And then this is a little tambourine that actually works. Can't really hear it because it's
picking it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little tambourine that actually works. I'm going to do a leather pouch for Ariel and like make it like sea themed. And I have some shells I'm going to put in there and stuff. I just have, this is a slow work in progress. It's just kind of like it's like I feel like working on it. What do I want to put on it? Mm-hmm. It's just going to be like, I don't have a exact design for it. For sure. I just knew it was going to be like, okay, I'm going to wood burn on half nature, half alchemic symbols, and then like the hanging stuff is just like, I have so many like random charms that I go to Joann's when they're having like their charm sale, and it's like I grab a bunch of them. Like I'm making stuff obviously for it. The feathers I got from Crow like a couple years ago or something. So it's like I threw those on. But yeah, it's just like stuff I'm just.
It reminds me of like some of the stuff Sorum used to make. He used to make a bunch of the walking sticks like that, and he would make cool stuff too.
But yeah, it's just something I'm just like slowly working on because I just I've always wanted a staff. Like I would go to like these street fairs or craft fairs and I would see them and it's like, oh, it's $150. And my mom would just be like, no, you're not getting a giant stick with leather on it. It's like, oh, okay. So I'm like I said, I was just randomly driving around Jefferson Forest and it was just like, that's a big stick. Yoink.
That's pretty cool. I like that. So going back to the awards for the dragons, going kind of what we were doing earlier with the roses. Someone is 1 to 3, maybe entered a thing in a park, or they're thinking about entering stuff in a local level. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in the ANS world?
For the love of God, do documentation.
Yeah, truth. Truth.
It's like documentation is your way to communicate to the judges. And judges, if you're judging, for the love of God, read documentation. I don't know how many times I've gotten a remark. I've gotten feedback from a judge going, you should have done this. Or it's like, or whatever. And I'm just like, if you had literally read the documentation, you would not be asking that question.
I had an item that 3 of 5 judges at Keep disqualified for, they said that I was using artwork that wasn't mine, where in my write-up, I had in bold with like stars next to it. This artwork is not mine. I got it from a free to use website online, and 2 of the judges scored it really well. And then the other 3 gave me zeros because it was plagiarism. And I'm like, I still took second place at that Keep with them DQing my best item too. So that should have been a Keep win. I will never forget that.
So when I ran for region, I baked something and I had brought milk to like wash it down because I want to say it was like a breakfast item, like it was like a strudel or something like that. And I had glasses put out, and then on my write-up it was, hey, here's some milk in the red cooler, and I had arrows pointing to the red cooler behind the entry going like, here's some milk to wash it down. And Juicy comes up to me going, hey, I have some cookies. Do you mind if I tell the judges they can use your milk? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he makes a sign that says, hey, Kai has milk in her red cooler, and makes an arrow pointing to the cooler, like next to his entry. And so then, like everything gets done, and the judges are finishing up, and it's like, all right, Juicy, I'm going to eat some of your cookies because I let you use my milk. He's like, all right, I'm going to eat some of your whatever it was I made because whatever, because it's like it's baked good, so I'm going to share. Mm-hmm. And so we're sitting there, and then we're going through like the comments, and it's just like and both of us get comments from 2 of the judges going, wish there was something to wash this down with. And it's like, And we look at each other like, wait, what? And it's like, did I forget to put up a sign? Like, what's going on? It's like, no, there's still there's a sign there, and the other judges have used the glasses and drank some of the milk. And so it's like, okay, someone's just dumb. And we're sitting there and I'm like, oh, wow, these are like really good cookies. And I'm dunking them in milk. And one of the judges looks up from one of they're judging another entry. And they're like, wait a minute, there was milk? And it's just like,
yeah,
you're one of these two people. Over here. It's like they marked me down for not having something to drink. And it's just like, what?
Yep. If you are new to arts and science tournaments, if that is the first or second one that you're doing, make sure you ask someone else who has maybe done it before to show you how to do documentation, because it is, in most of our tournaments, the only way that you get to communicate with your judges. So every possible thing you want your judge to know about your entry, you need to write it down. You need to put it in there. I think that's good advice. So what about for the 4, 5, 6?
I would say so but I guess as far as pieces are concerned, just go with something simple, because a lot of people will base awards off of how the person grows as an artist, and if you
dumb, I hate that.
It is dumb. It is incredibly dumb. But unfortunately, it's kind of the game we have to play at the moment.
Yep.
Until we change that. But it's like, if you want to come out swinging, by all means, come out swinging. Because I've seen some people that are like, yeah, this is my first time. And it's just like, it's like, I should just give you a Master Dragon, right now. You totally earned it. But it's like that may kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit, just because, like I said, some people will base awards off of this is at the same quality as their last piece. It's like, dude, they're a fucking leather worker as a profession. They really can't get much better. But it's if you're gonna come out swinging, I would say start off kind of small. So if you're sewing, maybe some pants,
a belt
or something,
favor.
Yeah, a belt favor. If you're doing leather work, a belt or something. And then for 4, 5, 6, kind of scale that up. So maybe a tunic, or pants. People need pants, and people are also scared to make pants. So yeah, pants would probably be a good bet. Maybe do a more intricate belt instead of just the single leather strap. Maybe you do the woven leather, or do the crazy macrame stuff that you do, or something.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Don't be like me, where my highest entry that I have ever got, or my highest score on anything I've ever entered in ANS tournaments, I got at, I think it was a 5th level. I got my first double belt I guess it was my second double belt that I entered in a Kingdom tournament. It got a 4.97. And that was at a 5. And that was my highest thing I've ever gotten. And so some judges, or some people who are giving awards, will say you need to be better than what you were previously for me to give you this award. Well, if you're hitting almost perfect or perfect at 5, 6, 7, it's really going to hurt you.
You can't go anywhere else. That's why it's kind of if you want to come out swinging and doing master level stuff, you can do that, but kind of maybe go a little bit small.
Yeah. Be ready for some heartache.
Yeah. So maybe it's if you don't enter in that full on tooled set of leather that has the helmet and the bracers and don't enter that entire thing.
Yep.
Maybe it's maybe enter the bracers or something like that. Just slowly enter in this single suit of armor or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's like I don't like the whole like, well, it's like it's not better than your last thing. It's like my last thing was almost perfect. Like I can't get any better.
And I don't know if you agree or if it's like this with everything, but for me, I felt like my skill capped at like 7. I felt like I had learned the things I needed to learn at 7. Just my 8, 9 and masterhood was just doing it enough and then innovating on that. So like if that makes sense, my craftsmanship capped at 7th level, but my creativity and scope is what I had to advance in.
Yes. And so it's like with yours was like the macrame, you can only get so good as far as like construction wise is concerned. And that's not saying that like, I'm not trying to say that it's like a negative thing.
No, not at all. It's just this is how it is. It's just a reality of it.
Hey, the belt's tight. All right, cool. Like it's not, if it gets any tighter, it's, I don't know, going to fold in on itself like a quantum singularity or something. I don't know, but you can't get much better as far as like craftsmanship is concerned. Now that's when you start working on like creativity stuff. So it's like you did like your double belt sort of stuff. I think you did like a utility belt or something like that. And so like it's like I agree that like once you get to a certain like spot in like one criteria, and I know not every kingdom uses criterias like Rising Winds does. And so it's like, all right, how can I make this look cool or innovative or something?
Well, and I know for like me, what did it for me was pushing it into like I made that big award box that had a belt and that right. And then after that, it was just bigger and better, but not necessarily on the craftsmanship. And I think it's the same thing with a lot of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, my artwork for awards, my technical skill might not need improving. Right. You will get to a point in your craft where that is as high as what you can, realistically get.
Yes.
But the idea or the concept or those are the things you have to improve on, not the skill itself. And that's something I wish someone would have told me earlier, because I got incredibly frustrated when I was getting 10s out of 10s on my construction, but like lower on the other stuff. And I'm like, what else do you want me to do? Right. Yeah. And I didn't realize that the skill caps, and no one ever tells you that. Like it doesn't always, it can cap, well, it's like, and that's okay.
It's like with chainmail, it's like you can do like all the different weaves and stuff like that. It's like it comes down to if you're leaving tool marks and not like completely like ruining the rings and scratching them up. But it's like, okay, you can make chains all you want, but then you kind of have to start getting like innovative with it. Doing stuff that is, doing stuff that's like besides just chains. Like Xander, he did a phoenix and a dragon, I think, or he just did a phoenix. Yep. But it's like he made that out of chain. So it's like, okay, your skill, he got his skill up. And I was like, all right, cool, let's go do something like creative. So he did the phoenix. I forget who it is. I think he's like Juicy's Beltling or something. I feel really bad now, but he did a chain within a chain.
Yep, I saw that. That was sick.
Yeah. It's like I came up with my own weave because Milk went, is this a possibility? I don't know. Let's see. Hey. But it's like once you reach that skill level, you have
Silas.
to kind of.
Was it Silas? I'm looking. Juicy's got Zoc. It's not Zoc. No. Malcolm, Silas, Kira. Man, Juicy, how many under beltlings do you have, dude?
It's like Pokemon.
He's got. It looks like he has 2 Silases, a Dib and then a Bark. I think it's yeah, I know. The guy he came down and played with us at Tyrant's Thorn, and that was the first time that day. Yeah, that was the first time I had met him, and he was showing showing off his stuff, and it was really cool. I liked his work a lot.
But yeah, it's like once you reach the, like that skill level, it's kind of like, all right. It's like that's why I really enjoy like making like the fun stuff, because I know like with sewing, my skill level is not at master. Like I would say it's like pretty average, but it's like the kiwi flag I did. That was fun.
Yeah.
And like people see that and they're just like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, you can also pet the kiwi. It's fuzzy. And people are just like, what? And then they start like petting the kiwi.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now with my garb too. I am not very good at it, but I am average. And then I'm doing this stuff with silk, which just the material that I'm using is bumping the way people perceive my garb up simply because it's silk. Like I'm not that good at it, but silk is cool and no one else really uses silk.
I judged your few entries for something. But it's like it was
one of the online Dragon Masters.
Yeah, it was and like you entered in I think it was like 2 or 3 different tunics made out of the saris.
Yep.
And so it's like you got me interested in that, and it's one of those just like it's like I've been like following the group that you recommended to me, and like there's a couple of Miriam's, and when she does her like dump, it's like there's a couple that I'm like,
it's so fun. So for those who don't know, there's Miriam's yarn and fabric, and 3 times a week she does these dumps of these silk saris, and they are a Indian Pakistani garment that women will wear, and she gets these used and will sell them, but it's first come first serve. And you have no clue what you're getting or what she's getting. And so she just says, all right, I've got 20 of them. I'm going to post them all on here in an hour. First come, first serve, whoever gets it. And so it's like race to find the cool stuff. Like,
and they're like a decent price. I want to say like there was like
a few $35 for about 6 yards of fabric.
Yeah. And this is like really beautiful fabric. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people kind of like poo-poo over like bright colors or prints, but these are amazing. There was one I scrolled by and I'm like, oh my God, I don't care. Like I'll eventually learn how to use silk or something like that. And I went to click on it and someone had already gotten it like 5 minutes beforehand. Just like, but it was.
And I've got some too that are like, they have a ton of beads in jewelry on it also. And so it's difficult with some of them because they're not always symmetrical, which makes it very difficult for me and my average level of skill to, I got to cut, and it makes the patterns different. I'm not quite good at that yet. But getting the ones that are symmetrical, I've got one that I got for Lao Tzu. I'm in the process of making it. In the back, it's going to be a surcoat. And in the back, all of it is like jewel encrusted. Like it is so
nice.
Cool. For me, the material and the non-standard material makes up for my average skill in certain stuff. And I think that's something I wish people would have told me too. It's that if your skill isn't where you need it to be creative, and sometimes that can make up for it.
You can kind of fake it, like in a sense.
Yep.
And I think with using the saris like you're doing, that's also helping you like do fabric usage, because if you use patterns like you get at the store and stuff, it will tell you like, okay, you need like 5 yards of fabric if it's solid, but if it's a pattern and you want the pattern to like
match up,
look right, then you're going to need like extra fabric, or you're going to need to lay it like a certain way. So that way you don't have like hearts going one way and then like going the other and stuff like that. So it's like, I think that's really helping you out. And that will also help you out just like being able to like visualize where stuff is, like a spatial awareness, like in a sense.
Yeah. Well, and people had always told me, I had asked a few people to make silk tunics for me in the past, and I had always been declined because everyone was so like they hated working with it, or like it was this big fear of, we can't work with silk. And I got smaller needles for my sewing machine and I used my serger and I've had no issues with it. Like it's just like sewing everything else. And so I think I want more and more people to do it because the fabrics that you can get are awesome. And it's more period. It's more historically accurate than some of the other stuff that we use.
It's like, I want to get into it. It's just a matter of, I have some like other stuff I have to do first. Like it's kind of like, hey, all right, I have a list of things that I can get to like the fun stuff. I'm gonna try and get them to give me 1 point of armor for it because the Mongols equipped all of their soldiers with silk and it would stop arrows, or it would make it to where arrows didn't actually come on guys, give me 1 point just for this silk. Come on. Or or the Japanese armor, they would weave the silk in between the links to help also stop the arrows. It's like, guys, it's historically accurate. Like that's a big thing, right?
It weighs nothing.
Yeah. It's like I've worked with satin. Like I made a groomsmaid dress out of satin. Like that was a pain in the ass. And there's a couple spots on it where like the fabric kind of like bunches up like a little bit. And just like on satin, and I imagine like on silk as well, like it could be like kind of obvious. And so it's like, okay, I've worked with satin. It's like I could probably do silk. Like I would probably have to get like a smaller needle. And I think it's also like an intimidation thing because like we think of silk as this very elegant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why I want it. It's a full ego trip for me. It's like nothing but silk touches my skin, like it.
But yeah, it's like I want to like mess around with it, and to be able to get like 6 yards for like $35, that's amazing.
Now, the downside with it is about a yard of it generally is a completely different pattern. So that's like the way that they use them. And so generally what I will do is I'll use that yard for trim, either on my sleeves and at the bottom. And so once you cut that off, if I'm real close, I can get 2 tunics out of one solid thing of one sari. But it's weird because sometimes that bottom yard isn't symmetrical and you get into some weird stuff, but overall they're pretty cool. And for the cost, it's cheaper than linen. So
yeah. Well, also I'm a fat kid, so I'm probably only going to be able only to get like 1 tunic. I don't know.
You'd be surprised. I have one up there that I'm about to start working on. It's green and it's more like 8 yards, and I paid the same price for it. It's just kind of random. Yeah. But then I've bought a couple that are 5 yards. So it's just kind of, it's a grab bag. So yeah. So
it's like I'll eventually get to it. So
it's pretty fun. I enjoy it. So we are nearing the 2-hour mark. So I'm gonna give you the wrap up question here.
Oh, okay.
I guess we got 2 more. So second to last question. This past year has been rough with COVID. It's been not particularly what any of us have wanted. But looking forward, is there anything you're like excited about in the next 6 months to a year in Amtgard? Like what has you so excited right now for that's just around the corner?
Well, Keep's coming up in September. September 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. That's going to be held in west of Indianapolis.
It looks like an amazing site.
The site is we're gonna have like plenty of like amenities, which I know like that's important for people. But then it's also very like handicap friendly. Like there's like paved there's paved walkways, and it's all on one level, so you don't have to go like literally hiking from one part of the grounds to the other. But we have some excellent people doing stuff for it. We have it's like Robin. She's known in RW to do like a lot of like feasts and stuff like that. We're planning on 2 meals, one like main feast, but it's going to be kind of like a grab and go sort of thing instead of like this. Like we're trying to like make it as safe as possible with like the whole like COVID thing. Like we're gonna have like hand sanitizers and stuff like that. But she did a test cook of what she wants to serve. I got to try it. It's delicious. So she's gonna go with that with like maybe like a couple changes because like some of the things might not transfer over to like mass scale. And then I believe we're also doing like Flame Night Grill, which the Flame Nights just like do food. And I'm trying to organize like a couple. I'm trying to organize at least one like Squire's breakfast type thing, but that'll have to see how it goes. Night Quest, it looks like it's going to be like a good healthy mix of fighting and like RP, because like the module we're using is Tomb of Horrors, so that's more like a dungeon crawl. So it's like they're going to do like some puzzles and stuff like that. God, I'm trying to as far as like, so there's Keep. Everyone should go to Keep. Yay.
Yep.
And then like as far as anything else coming up, I guess not like Amtgard wise. Well, I not like event wise or anything. Well, no, I guess I'm going to try to go to the Come Try LARP thing.
I'm stoked for that. That looks so fun.
It's like I'm probably just gonna day trip it. Just to like help out with like logistical stuff and whatnot. I'm not 100% sure if I can make it, so I don't want to like fully commit and then cop out at the last minute. Like I've told Dyer that it's like I'm pretty sure I'm going to show up, and if I do, like just point me to where you need me, and like I'll just go. It's like Battle Cry is, I think, like 2 weeks before Keep, and that is a Rising Winds event in Ohio, and that's like a lot of classes. And there's also battle games. So come learn something. And then like, I'm just going to be like sewing a bunch because I want to try to get, I want to try, I have like a bunch of like sewing projects I have to get through. And it's like I want to go for my Master Garber because why not?
Cool. I want all three. I want all three.
Yeah, I want all three too. It's just that I don't have the space for making armor, and I'm sure as shit not going to knit chainmail armor. It's like I can do it, but no. You gotta
get your beltling to teach you the plasti dip. That's where it's at. That's where it's at.
I know very rudimentary plasti dip. I learned from her and Dee's, but it's like it's very rudimentary. So yeah, so like I would have to like get. It's just a matter of like doing it to practice.
For sure, I love me some plasti dip. It was the craft that got me into crafting, so it holds a special place in my heart. So the last question we have here, is there anything that we missed that on your heart you want to discuss, you want to talk about, or any like current events going on in Amtgard that you feel strongly about that you want to chat about while you're here? And if not, no big deal, but just kind of open floor if you want it.
Yeah, it's like not really. Well, I guess as far as like current events, it would be like a lot of it would like pertain to kind of like some like I guess like real life, like some like the real life stuff. Like I know there's a lot of like yelling and whatnot, because there's like the politics, and then like the whole like COVID, like the vaccines and stuff like that.
Well, and at the time of recording, Tal Gador just shut back down as a kingdom.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. It's the first that I've heard of the shutdown the second time. So that'll date this if you're listening to this after.
It's like it's like Missouri, Florida, and Texas are like the three hotspots for the Delta variant, which sucks. But I think it's like I'm not going to get into politics just because like there's a lot of like strong like feelings there, but I think some people need to realize that people like there's a person behind that post online. And I think if you could like talk to the person, like maybe try to find like some common ground, and like you may actually find that like that person and you may agree with like a lot of things. You're just busy yelling about the opposite things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like that's going to work for everybody. And like there are certainly people that you cannot talk to, at least like yourself. But like there are other people that if you're just like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, just like talk to them. Because like there's like at work, it's like I work at a pharmacy, and there's like vaccine hesitancy there, and it's one of those like, it's like, all right, so why don't you want to get the vaccine, and like figure out what like their concerns are, and don't like scream at them like, oh, you're wrong or whatever like that, but just like he's like, okay, well, that's not true. Like here's like a website. I'm not saying like any website, like go to like like CDC or something. And at the end, just like go talk to your doctor. It's like I think everybody should get like vaccinated, but I'm also not going to like force people to. And if and we need to understand like why people are hesitant and quell those fears.
Well, you will never convince anybody by screaming at them, no matter what side of the spectrum you fall on this, right? Like you, especially on Facebook, very, very few people ever get convinced of something that they are diametrically opposed to through a Facebook conversation. And so I think people need to realize the way in which to change someone's mind comes through getting to know them and speaking with them like an actual person. And we lose so much of that, and even in Amtgard, in our Larp sphere, right? We see someone on the internet from the other side of the country, and we've never met them, and we can't put a face to it, and like we yell and scream, and it's never changing anybody's mind, and yet we still yell and scream, and like
Now it's like I will admit, like there are like a few people that I like get into arguments with on Facebook where it's like, okay, I'm going to try to talk to you as if we're a person. It's like you're not getting it. You are actively,
for sure.
You are actively ignoring what I'm have to say. Now you're doing personal attacks. All right, I'm done being nice. Let's go.
No,
like,
I get that for sure.
It's like I gave you the time of day. You just slapped me over. You just slapped my face. All right, cool. Let's.
No, I get that for sure. Well, wrapping up here, Kai, thank you very much for being on. Everybody, if you're listening here, this is the archive. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. Appreciate you so much for doing that. If you like this content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you got anybody that you have that you want to be on the show, that you'd like to hear their opinions on stuff, hear a little bit about their history, let them know, let me know, and we'll try and get them on. Till next time, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having me.